Hi, my name is Tanya Taylor Rubenstein, and I am speaking to you from my home in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And I'm the Global Story Coach. What that means is that I work with people on brand storytelling, memoir, and solo shows, as well as working with people on conscious and innovative creative public speaking. So I work with story in all forms. It's an amazing way actually to spend my life. And whether you want to create your brand story for website copy, whether you want to create an amazing TED-style talk or talk for a conference, whether you want to do a theatrical one-person show, which is an incredibly life-changing experience and can be a very rooted thing, just like a memoir, as the cornerstone of your creative career and business career. It's amazing where solo shows now are showing up as well as published memoirs. So no matter what story you're telling, the kind of stories that I'm talking about all relate to personal storytelling, one way or another, whether they're done verbally or through writing. And I wanted to talk tonight a bit about the hero's journey and the heroine's journey, and why people need both, and to understand both structures in their storytelling. So, of course, Joseph Campbell is so well known for his incredible work on the hero's journey. And the hero's journey is a huge starting place for all storytellers, whether they're conscious of it or not. Strong stories have elements of a hero's journey in them, no matter what. And so the hero's journey traditionally, classically, and if you look back at a lot of ancient Greek mythology, the Odyssey, it's like the ultimate hero's journey, and you look at modern films from Raiders of the Lost Ark to When Harry Met Sally to Schindler's List to Roberto Benigni and Life is Beautiful. They're all following the hero's journey structure in one way or another. So as a refresher, the hero's journey has to do with, and it doesn't matter if you're male or female, in both of these, and that's going to be part of the synthesis, synergy, unity I'm looking at when I am talking about both of these. So in the hero's journey, you've got ordinary life. Person is called, then there's a calling. Often in the dramatic structure, there's some kind of a refusal of the call to adventure. The call to a bigger life. We're all called. This is also a cycle of death and rebirth that we go through just as humans all the time. There are, eventually the hero does answer the call, otherwise we don't have a story. And what happens essentially in some people's lives is it becomes a tragedy. It's a life unlived. It's a story unlived. Ultimately, as humans, both as in our full humanity and as divine beings, we are called to grow and learn and answer that call and say yes to that call to adventure, however long we may postpone it. So on that journey, there are many things that are in every great book, every great film, every great solo show, every great brand story. There's obstacles to overcome. There's mentors and friends and helpers on the journey, fairy godmother, godfather type characters. There are monsters. There are villains. There are both internal and external obstacles pushing up against the protagonist, the hero. And in personal storytelling, that's you. That's you. You are the hero. You are the heroine of your own journey. And ultimately, the hero is going to go through many trials and tribulations on their quest. All of these trials and tribulations are part of the organic structure to framing a story, whether a memoir or a solo show or a story-based talk or a brand story. And one is looking for editing out ultimately a lot of the transitional moments that we go through and keeping with what's called the arc of the story, jumping from scene to scene to scene in our lives, to keep the movement happening in the story. That's the drama, the tension, so that the audience is invested and involved in the hero overcoming these obstacles, hopefully in an interesting, creative, funny, poignant, compelling, detailed way that brings the story alive. And ultimately, as the hero meets his final challenge, whether or not the hero lives or dies, and that can be physical death or a death and rebirth of the heart, of the mind, of the soul. And that will happen in any hero's journey structure, one way or the other, because the hero returns to his tribe a changed person with an offering, with wisdom, gifts, insights that are not intellectual. They're not things he learned in a book. They come from his direct experience, and that's where true knowledge resides. And the offering is to the tribe, to the audience, to your reader, to your potential client. So that's the basic Campbell structure, but there's some very interesting work happening now in terms of the heroine's journey. And so the heroine's journey has to do with a separation from an aspect of self. The way it's being written about now, it's often the woman being separated from her feminine, the feminine aspect of herself, and going on a journey to reclaim that at some point. But first, before she's interested in that, perhaps she has to express herself and become successful through a more masculine paradigm, through a more outer paradigm. But then what arises in her is a longing, a soulful longing, a spiritual longing to reclaim an aspect of self that she has invalidated, forgotten about, pushed away. The softer part, perhaps the one that looks less dramatic on the outside, because frankly, it's often more of an inner journey. Now, what I want to suggest is, as we hear and see the world around us and the splits between the masculine and the feminine, these splits in terms of wounding on the planet right now between victim consciousness and perpetrator consciousness, between those who are buying and selling wars and those who are helpless victims in wars, what we have is a split between the masculine and the feminine. I propose to all storytellers out there who want to transcend and create a great story in the art form, and who want it to be transformational for themselves and for humanity, that we're mindful in our stories, and it has nothing to do with gender, that we are all presenting our stories as both heroes and heroines, as both on an outer journey that is compelling and dramatic and draws the listener in, and that we're using a reflective voice, which is reclaiming the feminine, which is reclaiming the love, which is reclaiming ultimately our souls, the softness, the insights around peace, around how we can unify internally first and then with others, shift our communication styles, and be in service. We're no longer in the time of Odysseus, and the stakes are too high in the world to not be mindful that each of us has a part to play in the world, but we can't play that part fully if we haven't done the inner journeying to receive the consciousness that can really bring healing, piece, an offering to this very troubled world. We are the ones we've been waiting for, as Alice Walker says. And as a conscious storyteller, as a global visionary, as an artist in this world that so profoundly needs your offering and healing, in your storytelling, as a conscious business person in the world, I invite you to reflect upon your outer journey and stage-worthy material, whether you're doing it on stage, talking, doing a show, or writing it, or telling it, or putting it up on a website, or doing a video like this, that you've incorporated the outer active masculine and the inner reflective conscious feminine. This is about more than just stories. This is about creating the earth we want. Thanks so much. Signing off for tonight.